Oh, it's great to be recording another Take a Seat interview today. So I'm joined by the second in our Condies series. So Jason, we've had Graham. He could make all the mistakes he likes. That's all well and good. But it's brilliant to have somebody else from Condies on. So do you maybe just want to take a little minute to just introduce yourself and what you do?
Certainly. My name is Jason Condie, and it's no coincidence that the firm is named Condies, and I'm Condie. I was just explaining to Alison offline that it's the poison chalice that keeps getting passed down from generation to generation. The firm was set up 100 years ago by my great grandfather, and then since then my grandfather and my father were both partners in the firm, and now myself and 5 others are directors in the limited company that we have now, Condie & Co Limited. I myself look after quite a varied range of clients. I'll basically take anybody that comes in the door, as long as they're friendly. To be fair, about 2/3 of my clients are medical practices and doctors. We do a lot of work. I'd say about 1/3 of our turnover comes from the health sector. It's a specialist niche that we've developed, and we are the biggest accountancy firm in Scotland for medical practice, bigger than any other accountancy firm, which is, you know, pretty crazy given the size of our firm. So that's about 2/3 of my clients. Everything else is, you know, from large 5 million turnover businesses down to sole traders, down to roofers, and you know, anybody, to be honest. As I say, as long as they're friendly and their records are decent enough, I'm quite happy to act on their behalf. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and the firm. We're based in Dunfermline. We've got a satellite office in Edinburgh, but yeah, our headquarters in Dunfermline. We have a subsidiary that does wealth management, Condies Wealth. We've got IFAs in there, a mortgage specialist, so they do the full remit: investments, pensions, mortgages, insurances, all that. And yeah, I'm not trying to make sure that this doesn't get too salesy, because it's starting to drift into salesy territory. But yeah, that's a little bit about us. All the usual accountancy stuff. We pride ourselves on being more approachable, more friendly, less like your traditional accountants, and more like your you know, the man in the pub, the knowledgeable man in the pub who you'd go to. He would be your first port of call for any business advice that you wanted. So yeah, I guess that's a wee bit about me and the firm.
Brilliant. I've been talking to lots of people over the pandemic, and it's obviously just been the weirdest time ever. But I'm interested in how you found the past couple of years and what you reckon that the rest of 2022 is going to look like in your role.
Well, scary, I would say. It was scary the last couple of years, and I think now, as we're seem to be coming out of it, it's almost like we've forgotten about it. It's like a mass amnesia, or just everybody's pushed it down and nobody wants to talk about it. It's like the Spanish flu. Nobody's talking about COVID anymore. But it's one of these things that I feel like when we all get much older, it might rear up, and all of a sudden we remember the trauma of 2020. But yeah, it was really scary for me and the directors at that time. You know, not just on a personal level, but you're worried about your business, you're worried about your clients' businesses, because that obviously impacts directly on your business going forward. How are we going to cope with all the challenges of people working remotely? And it really kind of pushed us to move to hybrid working before anybody was ready. I mean, we were kind of, I don't want to say that we expected it, but 6 months before everybody was forced to work from home, we were kind of set up to work from home. So it wasn't quite so traumatic to empty the office and get everybody working from home. And interestingly, we discovered that even though, you know, you're always skeptical about people working from home, recoverability, profitability, chargeability, none of these things dropped when people started working from home. All the KPIs that we hold on to every year were still at the same level as they had been working in the office. And so now we feel, you know, comfortable with people working from home, working 3 days a week in the office, core hours, flexible working. But at the time, yeah, it was scary. How are we going how are our clients going to survive, particularly those in, hospitality, travel. I have a couple of clients in with hotels, B&Bs, travel agents. How are they going to survive? And then you have the knock-on effect, which you don't necessarily think about is at the start. Okay, nobody's going to move jobs. I've got clients that are recruitment agents. How are they going to, what their turnover is going to look like if nobody's moving jobs because they don't want to, don't want to move during lockdown, during the pandemic. So yeah, it was definitely scary and challenging. In terms of now we're coming out of it, what's 2022 look like? For me, it's really just not return to normal, because as I say, I don't think it's right to forget about the last 2 years. But it is trying to get back out there, get over the weirdness of meeting with people in person, meeting with new, potential clients, and get back out meeting intermediaries and professionals, other professionals that, again, you've missed for the last couple of years. You haven't had a bacon roll and a coffee with somebody for 2 years. So it's just about kind of rediscovering all that when clients are ready to do it. I would say probably about 50% of my clients are still quite happy to just meet on Teams, and are not rushing to do in-person meetings for whatever reasons, or maybe they just like, I'm trying not to take it personally, maybe they just like the distance and not having to travel and things like that. So no, it's just, getting back out there and seeing clients and other professionals when they're ready, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely very individual, isn't it, how people are feeling about this. So the next question really is about, what the changes have been in your life then. So what is the biggest change in your life outside of work as part of that pandemic, I suppose?
Outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of work, I would say the biggest change during the pandemic was, it's lonely. So it was me and my wife and our daughter, but it's still lonely because you don't see your friends, your families, your colleagues, your clients anymore. And I know a lot of people have it worse. A lot of people had it worse, were more isolated, had more loss. So we lost my grandfather, as I mentioned there earlier on. He was one of the partners in Condies, but we lost him to COVID quite early on in the pandemic. But just not able to have a funeral for them and celebrate their life properly. And again, I know people lost a lot more, but these are the things that kind of stay with me. And I guess the biggest challenge for a lot of people like myself was childcare. All of a sudden, you don't have nursery anymore. It's like, government enforced family time, quality time all the time. And my wife and I, we both, I work about 5+ days a week. She works part-time 3 days a week, and all of a sudden I had to squash my 5 days into 3 days. She had to squash her 3 days into 2 days. So we were, working until midnight, most nights back at midnight. But at the same time, you have to kind of, I guess, take the positives from that, because I would never have had the opportunity to spend that much time, like it or not, with my 3-year-old daughter. So it's, and she was young enough, thankfully, that, she didn't have to worry about school, and we didn't have to do any homeschooling or any of that. So it was quality time. So yeah, I'd say that was one of the positives. I wasn't just, heading out to the office every day. I had to do my bit of, parenting, and then work around that. So yeah, that was the biggest change, I would say. All those things that everybody was experiencing, different degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because one of the things that I remember talking about I don't know when it would have been, maybe early 2021, was people were starting to talk about a new normal, and we've even given up with that phrase, haven't we? Because
that was too early. That was way too early to talk about the new normal. That was like the early new normal.
Yeah, the first new normal. Yeah, it's going to be a long time before the impacts of all of this really kind of come out in people, isn't it? Good and bad. Because I remember when I was talking to Graham, he was talking about, the fact that he's been able to do the school run, and in the old days, that just
whether
wasn't even part of his day. Yeah, and he absolutely loves it. So but Yeah, yeah, it is. It's interesting. Oh, I'm loving the Condies mug, just putting the branding out
Yeah,
there.
see that subtle. Yeah.
So my next question, I guess you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm just interested in how people are feeling about getting out and meeting people properly again. Are you doing much kind of face-to-face stuff at the moment?
I'm pretty comfortable with it. I think, well, I'll hold my hands up. I've already had COVID, and I didn't really have any symptoms from it, which maybe makes me feel more invincible than I should do. But I don't mind. I'm quite happy going out and meeting clients, and it's really up to, I guess, their level of comfort. I'll offer them however they want to communicate, whether it's email, Teams, phone, go out in person. It's just really up to their level of comfort. And I would say, it's probably about 50%. And a lot of my clients are doctors, and quite often, they don't want you to necessarily come in, or some of them are at home so they can dial in, isolating, or they don't want you to come into the practice because they don't want to put you at risk or anything like that. Whereas others have big meetings rooms, and you can go out and there's plenty of space, and you can wear masks and all the rest of it. So it's so far it's 50-50, and it's what it has. I guess another advantage of that is that it saves me a lot of time. I've got clients in Inverness all over Scotland, and I used to travel up to see them, whereas now I'll maybe go up every couple of years and do a Teams in between, and that saves me 6 hour round trip to Inverness. So I do find that there is more time, which is good because it means I can look after the clients better. I can go and win more clients comfortably, knowing that I'm not going to run out of time. So I would say that is an advantage, that now we're all used to Teams and meeting like this, that we can do that maybe every year or two, and it's just as good as in person.
Yeah.
So
The sort of real and not so real cost to your business is, I don't know if you've been looking at that. Certainly something we're considering, but as you say, like 6 hours of your time not being able to spend on other things, and no mileage claim. That's a bit of a win-win, isn't
exactly,
it?
especially with petrol costs the way they are just now.
Yeah, the danger, I suppose, though, is that you maybe just cram your day, and that's another thing that we're trying to get out of, and it was worse, I think, in the early months of the pandemic. But that's the danger, isn't it? That we just ram our day full of online meetings, and then you have to actually work after you finished all that.
Yeah, exactly. Meetings, certainly at the start of the pandemic, I feel there was a lot of meetings for meeting's sake, when they didn't necessarily have to happen. But yeah, it's, or you take all these clients and all of a sudden everybody wants to see you, and then you still have to go, and you still have to find the time to make sure the client service doesn't drop.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so random question number one: sweet or savoury? And what's your favourite food from your choice?
Oh, good question. I would say I would always be more of a starter and a main kind of guy than a main and a dessert. If I had to choose, I don't know. I always feel like, this might sound a bit derogatory, chefs out there, but I always find like it's easier to make a nice sweet than it is to make a nice starter. If you know what I mean. If it's sweet enough, it's okay. Be simplifying it again. And in terms of what my favorite thing is, I do like a good steak. I have to say, but I know that's a bit of a cop out, but a nice medium rare steak. I think probably not fillet. I'd probably go for like a ribeye, someone with a bit of fat through it, medium rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I go
Where's your
for.
favourite haunt then? So when you've got a babysitter and it's just you and Mrs. Condie going out, where do you go for steak?
Well, in Dunfermline, the city of Dunfermline as it's now known, there are a few restaurants. I'll plug a few of them. There's a really nice restaurant, Jack O'Brien's, which is really good for steaks, really sort of high end food, like Edinburgh style food, but not quite as pricey and in Dunfermline. Then there's nice Italians in Contries, a lovely Italian And grandparents used to love that. When my grandfather was alive, he used to go and dance there every Sunday.
That's nice, isn't it?
Just to the accordion, not accordion, the sort of the pianist that was there. He would just dance around the tables. After a bit too much wine. What else is there? And there's lots of nice wee cafes and things popping up now. I don't know whether it's gentrifying. Dunfermline is gradually gentrifying as it becomes a city, but it's a nice place to visit, nice place to be.
Okay, that's so. Next question is about what you wanted to be when you left school. Was it a partner in Condies?
No, God no. I don't think I actually knew what an accountant was until I went to university. I think properly, even though I did it in high school, and I still, I know what it is now, obviously. But but when my daughter asks me what I do, I don't just say, she's like, "What's an accountant?" And you say, "Well, you basically save people tax, and you help people with their businesses, help them run their businesses." What I wanted to be, I think you're gonna love this, and it is genuinely true. When I left school, I wanted to be a stuntman because I was quite sporty growing up, and I liked, did gymnastics as a child, did quite a lot of extreme sports growing up. I wanted to be a stuntman, and I even went to Seattle 2002 to there's a stunt school in Seattle where you can learn all the stuff that like being set on fire that you can't do at home by yourself. But then I realized that it's quite, I don't want to get too much into the industry politics, but it's quite a lot about who you know as opposed to what you know in the stunt industry, from what I've read. And you could go for years without a big break. It's like, I guess it's anything in show business, it's without getting a big break. And so I realized that I quite enjoyed accountancy in high school, enjoyed maths, enjoyed meeting people and speaking to people, and not just, working away at the numbers. And so it kind of made sense. Plus, I guess it's in my blood, it's through the genes that accountancy is there, and and presenting numbers to people, which is basically what accountancy is in the blood. So I stopped fighting it and just kind of, I didn't go to Condies straight away. I went the sort of quite normal route of Big Four, did my qualification at KPMG, then moved to PKF, what was PKF, now BDO, did corporate finance for a few years, and then an opportunity came up at Condies, not as a partner, but as a sort of, client advisor at that time. And so worked here did a few years of that, and then the partnership changed a little bit, and there was a gap for three of us to become partners, so became a partner then. And that's a long time ago now. That was 2014. So I've been a partner now for 8.5 years. Showing my age, definitely showing my age now. So that was, answer your question, stuntman is what I wanted to be.
There's just so many questions, aren't there, to that? But so what piqued your interest? Was it a particular film that you went, oh, if I could do the stunts in that film, or was it that you wanted to be Bradley Cooper's stuntman? Was it a person or a film, or none?
Interesting you picked Bradley Cooper. I wouldn't have had myself down as a doppelganger for him, but I think what I quite like about stuntmen is they never get any credit for it. They just, they do their job. The big stars get the credit for it. A lot of them say they do their own stunts, and but the stuntmen are just away in the background doing these absolutely crazy things, but within risk thresholds, and you have a whole industry built around making these stunts safe and stunt coordinators so that the stuntmen don't hurt themselves most of the time, but they still are taking risks. And I think it was the excitement of coming from these sort of extreme sports background. I enjoyed the adrenaline, the excitement, and I thought, okay, how can what job can I do that will give me that sort of variety of risk and excitement on a daily basis? and also be quite a cool thing, you know, when you're a single man, quite a cool thing to tell
Absolutely.
to tell the ladies, what do you do for a job? Oh, I'm a stuntman. It's better than I'm an accountant, but usually kills conversations dead unless they've got a business, and then not necessarily then you're useful, but quite often it's not the best chat line to say you're an accountant.
Love it.
I found business advisor works better than an accountant.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the reason.
And I mean, you don't get to say what you're doing now. If you could do any job at all now, what would it be and why?
Now that I'm old and scared of things, you mean?
I didn't say that.
Or more scared than I used to be. I think I'd like to be an architect. I think my wife and I have spent the last sort of 2.5 years trying to fix up this ruin that we bought, and we've, and it's needed architecture input from one of my clients, incidentally. Everybody who works in my job is basically a client of mine. But I've really enjoyed that aspect, not everything else, not living in a basement for 1.5 years, didn't enjoy that, but working with the architect and seeing and then seeing the finished product that he came up with. So I think I would enjoy that. I quite enjoy that side of things, I think.
Brilliant. So we've been talking on this series lots and lots about digital innovation, and the Chamber's talking about it a lot too, but how has your business evolved digitally, and what do you think will be on the cards for your business or digital innovation going forward?
I think it's evolved massively, not just because it's had to, but because that is what our managing director and our operations director and our IT manager are. We're trying to stay ahead of the curve, not just kind of keep up with technology, but invest, because it's costs a fortune these days. You're saving money on printing, stationery, and postage, but you're spending money on technology, equipment, and these portal services. They all cost per head, so it's just a different cost. But yeah, trying to stay at the forefront of it. We've moved, not just because we had to move online for Teams, we've moved pretty much all of our clients onto this portal, which I know a lot of firms use, but an online portal where it's super secure and you can send something out and it can get approved digitally that day. You don't have to send it out in the post, wait for it to come back. Everything can all get done in a day, which is great when you get around the pinch points, around the end of January deadlines and things like that, if for the stragglers. Other things, well, I think Graham probably talked about it. Making tax digital is not going away. It's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
Not worse. It's coming. It's coming for everybody. Sooner or later, you got the VAT registered businesses on it already, making tax digital compliant. But it's coming. I think Graham mentioned this last week. It's coming for taxpayers, partnerships, and then ultimately it will be coming for non-VAT registered limited companies too, for corporation tax, because HMRC basically want everybody to pay their tax quarterly. It's what they want their information quarterly, and they want everybody to pay at least payments on account towards their tax quarterly. They want their tax faster. So moving with that, you've got all the cloud software in place. You've got Xero, you've got QuickBooks, Free Agent, Sage, all those guys jostling for position in the cloud software market. And so it's really just trying to encourage our clients onto that making tax digital compliant software before they need to be. If you know what I mean? It's always better to jump rather than be pushed into something. So trying to get everybody at least a year ahead, so they've got a year's worth of comfort with the software before they need to use it. They need to be submitting info to HMRC regularly. So yeah, I guess that's where we've seen technology going, not just in terms of the way we communicate with clients, but also how our clients maintain their records I guess, their hands forced by HMRC.
Yeah, we've used Xero in our business for a long time now, and we went from Sage on one kind of desktop machine to Sage to Xero. It's made a huge difference actually, but it takes a bit of getting used to it. But it's definitely faster. You've just got so much more information at the tips of your fingers that you just never had before as a business. So,
and it's the sort of artificial intelligence that they build into it now, that it learns where you want to post things. So all you do is you just pull down your online bank statements, and then it automatically posts things to where it should go in the profit and loss account. And so you're left with very little transactions that it hasn't seen before to reconcile at the end of so it saves you massive amount of time. And as you say, it's not stuck on one machine that is password protected. So if the person who knows the password goes off sick or leaves, then you can't get, I've had that before with clients, can't get onto the system, can't, pay the suppliers this month because they can't get into the accounting software. You don't have that. It sits in the cloud, and then you can set different levels of access and access it anywhere, anytime. I sound like one of the Xero adverts now, but yeah, that's the benefits are all there. Plus, it's quite often quite cheaper than these desktop clunky bits of software too.
Yeah, it's definitely been good for us anyway. So if you were offered a 4-day week, would you jump at the chance?
No, to be honest, I could. I don't know if any of my fellow directors will watch this. I could probably do it now. I could probably take a 4-day week and just not tell them. But I quite like the routine of a 5-day week, and also, my clients and the teams at Condies aren't working 4-day weeks. So all I would do is I would have 4 days of solid work, and then I'd be off for the 5th day, and then I would just my inbox would just be bombarded from clients and from the team here at Condies on that day. So then I'd come back on the Monday, and I'd still have the same amount of work. It's more it's less stressful to try and condense that into 4 days. Plus, the routine of 5 days, and once you work out your childcare and everything like that here at Condies, I don't know if Graham mentioned this last week, we've kind of moved to flexible hybrid working, where you have, if you're full time, and this is where I probably get it wrong, if you're full time, you only have to do 3 days in the office between the core hours of 10:30 and 2, I think and then you make your hours up within that week. Yeah. However you see fit. And that's been good for, as Graham says, you can do the school run, you can do the school drop off, you can do the school pick up. And it's, it doesn't work for me. I'm in the office pretty much 9 to 5 every day, even Fridays, but it's just giving people that flexibility. And I think, as I said earlier, the pandemic lockdown showed that by trusting people and by giving that flexibility, you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to lose any recoverability or chargeability. The team's still going to give you as much back as you'd want from them. It's just letting everybody work in the way that they want to work and when they want to work. So so to answer your question, no, I wouldn't take a 4-day week, because I would take a 5-day week. That'd be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take a 5-day week.
9 to 5 job, that would be nice.
9 to 5 days a week, that'd be nice. But
okay, if you were given unlimited funds to move any place at all in the world, where would you go and what would you do?
I'd move to Australia, probably, because my wife is Australian, and I would do not very much. I'd just sit around. Don't do very much. No, what would I do if I didn't need to work? I don't know, something, you'd be like an amateur food critic. That'd be pretty good. So you don't actually have to give your critiques to anybody. You just go around restaurants and eat what you like. Give your own unofficial critiques of their food. Yeah, I think cool. Probably just read a lot, eat a lot of good food.
Well,
see the world.
I think that ties into my next question. So maybe it would be where you would take these people to dinner, but if you could invite any 3 people to dinner, who would you ask? Now, they can be dead or alive.
Right. Okay. Can I have both? Can I have 3 dead and 3 alive?
No, you're only getting 3.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I've actually, yeah, okay. 3, well, I'll do, yeah, I would say, they might all going to be dead then. Okay, I'm going to go dead. I would go for Andrew Carnegie, obviously, the great entrepreneur, philanthropist who came from Dunfermline, poor man, came from a poor family, went away to America, made his millions in steel, was, I think, the 2nd richest man in the world at one point behind Rockefeller in that era, and then basically gave all his money away through trusts and to universities. And I think, what did he say? There's a famous thing he said about a man who dies rich dies disgraced. So I always thought that was quite a poignant thing. Not if you're his kids, probably pretty rubbish if you're his kids and he's just giving all your inheritance away. But I thought it was, yeah, just interests me. Alexander Hamilton, again, kind of ye olde American, the musical about Hamilton. Just because, and I've watched the musical, loved the musical, read the book about Hamilton. Fascinating guy. I think he's half Scottish, half Caribbean. Could have been president of the US. They basically created their economy in America, the modern economy, when they were going through the Revolutionary War with the English. But then, yeah, interesting guy. Threw it all away, basically. Threw away the presidency because he had an affair, had a few affairs on his wife, and then wrote pamphlets about it and told everybody, because he was being blackmailed, told everybody. So basically squandered his chance at the presidency. So yeah, he was a pretty fascinating guy. I guess a curveball. My great grandfather, he's not famous, but just because I don't really remember him. He was still alive until I was about, I think, 3 or 4. I don't really remember him, but from what I've heard, he wasn't really a nice man. He wasn't a very nice man. Quite an intense man. Kind of pushed my grandfather into accountancy, but he was, from what I've heard, and it could just be legends passed down. He was an interesting man, quite involved in ICAS, the Institute of Chartered Accountants in its early days. I think he was writing exams, an examiner, and it had all these random things, like he owned a dance school at one point, but then gave that up to become an accountant. And yeah, all these crazy stories I've heard about him over the years. So I'd like to, meet him in a room with these other 2 guys, Andrew Carnegie and Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, I have a feeling he would like those other 2. You might not get a word in edgeways.
That's fine. I'm quite happy just to be a fly on the wall, I think, for the 3 of those guys. But yeah, it's weird that all my guys are dead. They're all men and they're all dead.
Yeah. So if you ever invite people to dinner, they're going to go, no, it's fine. I'm honestly fine.
Okay.
Watch it right.
You're not getting an invite unless you're, a dead white guy from the early 1900s or whatever.
Yeah. Who likes finances and figures?
I need to get out more.
Jason, I'm sorry to tell you, you've got a type.
I definitely need to get out more. Definitely. It's because you gave me the option. You didn't give me both. You never gave me alive and dead. You just said alive or dead. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. So finally, what's going to be the priority for you in your role for the rest of 2022?
I think kind of what I said earlier, just getting back out there, catching up with all my clients that haven't, that have not been neglected, because we've tried to always try and maintain the relationship there, but just getting out and seeing them and talking to them, helping them with their businesses, and then meeting potential new clients as well, of course, prospects out there, and and catching up with all the intermediaries and other professionals too. Just again to kind of cement those relationships and reinforce them, because people, they're, now that the pandemic is hopefully over, a lot of people have changed jobs, so people are new, the bankers and solicitors and surveyors, and they've all, some of them have moved to different firms, so it's kind of reconnecting with them and just seeing if we can again help their customers, help their clients in their new roles. So yeah, more of the same, but again within everybody's comfort zones, I guess.
So for those medical services firms or anybody else that's not already a client of yours, or somebody that just wants to buy your coffee, how do they get in touch with you to have a chat?
Well, I hang out at coffee shops quite regularly, so you'll find me at one of them. But I'm not great on social media. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm good at it. I do have social media accounts, but I'm a bit rubbish at them. So probably old-fashioned email. And I don't know if you'll flash it on the screen, but if you don't, I'll just tell you. It's jason.condie@condie.co.uk. If anybody wants to, I'll even buy the coffee. I'm not, you don't have to buy me a coffee, I'll buy you a coffee. But yeah, I'm always happy to have a chat.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being the latest victim on Take a Seat.
No
It's been
worries.
really interesting.
Not at all.
And thanks to Graham for volunteering you.
No, it's all, you will cut all those weird bits out earlier, yeah.
Well, I might.
Okay, it's good enough.
Yeah. So, Jason, thank you so much. As you said, we will put your contact details out so that people can get in touch with you. But the video does appear on the Chamber's YouTube channel. It'll be on our website, and then it'll be out on social media as well. So, thanks to you if you're watching us on those channels. Thanks to Jason again, and to Condies for being involved in the Chamber. It's brilliant to have an enterprise partner like Condies. So thanks very much. And if you're interested in being on Take a Seat and you've not taken part already, then just get in touch with us at the Chamber. So thanks very much, folks.
Thanks, Alison.